Okay, so I recently heard this stat that is if you spend like 10 minutes planning your day, you can save 20% of your time that it would usually take you to do everything you need to do that day. Exactly. I am the perfect example of this. I use this strategy to plan my week pretty much every single week. I do it on a monthly scale and on a yearly scale, and it helps me be able to do basically 3 full-time jobs. If you are new here, I'm Alexis. I am 24. I live in Brooklyn. I work full-time in big tech. I work full-time at YouTube. I also am an influencer, and I am the founder of 2 Collective, which is a modern lifestyle company and line of luxury bathrobes, which I'm wearing right now because it is one of those nights where it's time to get planning. So with that being said, I have shared snippets of this hack on TikTok and on Instagram before. I was even featured in Morning Brew because of it, and it's sort of something I've taken from all the different like self-help time management books that I've read over time, and I've applied it into my own strategy that really only uses one thing, and that is Google Calendar. I used to hate getting the question, how do you do it all? How do you get it all done? Because I felt like it was something you either have it or you don't. But then this year I experienced a surge of burnout. In Q4, I guess, between October and December, I was really doing a lot and it was really starting to mess with me physically. And so I recognized that even though I was experiencing that, I was still able to get most of my like biggest priorities accomplished. And I realized that my system was really what was helping me stay afloat, even though mentally I was drained. Luckily, I got to do what you need to do when you have burnout, which is take time off and reassess. But I just wanted to put that out there that the only reason a lot of us are able to stay afloat sometimes is because of our systems. And so systems are for when you're high and for when you're low, but they always matter and they always help. So let's get started. All you need to do for this is a few minutes and Google Calendar. And so I know Google Calendar can be scary. I personally used to hate it. I liked iCal a lot better, but Google Calendar is what the majority of people are using, so this is what I do. However, if you don't use Google Calendar and if you use iCal or if you use Outlook, you can do this as well, either just in a spreadsheet or in Notion, which is my fave. I love Notion so much. So just to take these principles and apply them to those platforms. Okay, so in order to do this most effectively, we can't just start by looking at how we're gonna plan out all of our tasks for the week, okay? A lot of us think that that's how you can get started with stuff, but in reality, it's a lot more complicated than that. What you really need to do is sit down and discuss, figure out with yourself what your non-negotiables are going to be. And that is something that can be hard. I know everyone says like, oh, just audit your time and see what you're gonna do. I never do those little exercises. That's stupid. What you do is that over time, you start to ask yourself how you're feeling on a day-to-day or a week-to-week basis, and what are the things that make you feel good and productive, and what are the things that don't. So if you need help doing this, I have an episode of my podcast, Too Smart for This, that you can check out that helps you figure out what your non-negotiables and your boundaries are, and there's a little Notion worksheet too, so take a look at that before you jump into this section. For the purposes of this video, I'm going to be showing you how I do this on a Google Calendar that's sort of like a fake version. I'm not jumping into my calendar because there are things on my calendar that I can't share with the general public because I have a job, I have a business, and I'm an influencer and I can't talk about things before they come out. However, I am gonna show you how I start with this. To start, we've identified our non-negotiables. So for me, my non-negotiables are 1 day a week where I don't have to do anything. I start to notice that if I'm doing required things every single day, I feel a lot of pressure on me and I feel really like uncomfortable and I get anxious, and even that sheer thought of having to do something will really mess with me. So 1 day a week where I don't do anything. 3 to 4 days a week of working out. Morning walks are my non-negotiable. So those are some examples. And then some other examples are I'm in a relationship. So with my boyfriend, we probably spend 3 to 4 nights a week together. That's probably a non-negotiable. In that, I can't spend every night with him because if I do, it's just not gonna work, girl. For many reasons. So a non-negotiable is 3 nights of the week that are for me or for hanging out with my friends, you know? So think about your life and think about your non-negotiables, and then we will start planning from there. So what you're gonna do is open up your calendar. I like to do this on a Sunday night or on a Monday morning. There's a version of this that I've taken from called Monday Hour 1 from Holisticism, which I will link down below. I love Holisticism. My version is just a little more tailored to what I need. I like to color code my calendar, so I have created 7 color coded situations. So I have health, my 9 to 5 / corporate job, which that is also in a separate calendar, like it's in my work calendar, but I just have it blocked out on my personal calendar so that I don't have to look at it 24, so that I know when I'm like working, you know? But you can also apply this to your work life too. Content creation / creativity. So there's a difference between creativity and execution. So for example, when I'm creating content, like filming this video for you right now versus writing the description for it, those are 2 different things. And so in order to actually get things done, you can't be context switching. You actually lose 40% of your productivity when you are switching between different contexts. So I have 2 different context calendars that I have in my suite of color-coded calendars. One is the creativity, which is when I'm doing things like coming up with video ideas or filming or taking pictures or styling outfits. And then one that's executional and admin tasks, which is talking to my accountant and going over my QuickBooks, or it's writing a video description, or it's creating a thumbnail and publishing a video. Those are different things that require different brain space, so that's why there are 2 different calendars for that. Additionally, there are calendars for appointments, commuting and travel, and events. So once you have all those written out, I would do it for whatever is in your personal life. This is where we get started planning our week. So we start in our calendar by adding in the things that are sort of like you can't really control. So for example, I have a dentist appointment this Thursday. I'm gonna put the dentist appointment in. I'm gonna put commuting to the dentist in. If you have a job, you're gonna put your shift hours in there. Like for example, I go to the office 3 days a week. So we're gonna put all the office days and commuting to the office. And those sort of create like the dead time on your calendar, and then you can see where you have like time left to do the other things you need to do. And this is where time blocking is gonna come in. So once you put in everything that's like sort of you can't really control, the next step is to do a brain dump of literally every single task that you need to do that week. I'm not just like, oh, go grocery shopping. No, you're gonna write grocery list. Go to the grocery store, put groceries away, put it all in there, every single thing. And where I like to do this brain dump, especially if you're on Google Calendar, is with Google Tasks. Google Tasks is one of the greatest inventions that Google has made. I'm not just saying that because I work there, because like I said, I used to be a Google Calendar hater. And you can also do this in Notion, in one of the little boards. You can do it on paper and write it on some Post-its. But what you're gonna do is just write out every single task that you need to do. At first, this is gonna feel overwhelming. You're gonna be like, holy shit, I have so much to do. But that's where this next part comes in. That is where you take all your overwhelm away and you can feel so much better about your week. You are going to schedule all of those tasks into a time block for that type of task. So for example, let's say you are a content creator and you do like to create content. You're going to write down how many like posts you want to post throughout that week, and you're going to schedule that into a block of creativity or in a block of execution on your calendar. So what mine looks like is I do my non-negotiable morning routine, and then I have 1 to 2 hours in the morning that are focused on creating and posting content, and that for me is when I schedule in that task of, say I wanted to post 1 TikTok, 1 Instagram, and 1 YouTube that day. Each one of those is a little task that goes into the creativity block in that 7 to 9 a.m. on my calendar. Everyone talks about time blocking because it works, okay? Like every successful person talks about how they use time blocking because you save what? I think it's like you lose 40% of your productivity when you don't time block or when you're switching between tasks and stuff like that. Don't be someone who decides to not do time blocking and just do it your way and just run down a to-do list even though you're switching between different types of things, because that's stupid. Okay? Don't be dumb, all right? Let's do the smart thing that has proven to work and use time blocking, all right? I also schedule my time blocks with respect to what works for me. And that's one thing that's very, very important. So I'm a morning person. I do my best creative work. I do my best executional work in the morning. So I am always going to put those time blocks heavy in the morning so that I can actually get shit done. I'm not going to ask myself to do a bunch of creative work at 7 p.m. on a Thursday night because I know that I'm going to be mentally drained from working my 9 to 5. That's why I put things like working out or cooking or spending time with my friends and family in the evening, because I don't have have to use my brain for that. So to be clear, you are going to write out every single task you need to do. I would typically do this in the Google Task side, and then you're going to apply each of those things into these time blocks that you've created for yourself with all of your time outside of the non-negotiables. And from there, what you have is an exact list of everything you need to do every single day. So now you know exactly what time you're going to be doing something and all of the things that you need to be doing within that allotted piece of time. But inevitably, things go left. Every single week is not always the same. Let's say you schedule a 2-hour time commitment to do some really deep creative work, and then guess what? Your building decides that they're gonna do a fire drill during that time. Yeah, things are gonna be messed up. So what happens when you fail to do something on the one day that you said you were going to do it? This is why it is so important to know yourself and know who you are. So for me personally, I tend to overschedule on Mondays and Tuesdays. I always get a little excited about what I can accomplish on a Monday and a Tuesday because I don't have meetings at work on Mondays, so I feel a lot more, like I can get shit done. Hold up. Then by Wednesday, I'm feeling overwhelmed and burnt out. So after recognizing every single week for a few months I was having a breakdown on a Wednesday, I realized, oh, hold up, girl. That's your problem, is that you're overscheduling on Mondays and Tuesdays, and you're usually really stressed on Wednesday. So what we're gonna do is we're not gonna take any meetings on Wednesdays anymore. This is gonna be a day for catch up and for getting things done. So creating that space for yourself where you know you're gonna have time to catch up, breathe a little bit, have a second to chill. It comes with knowing yourself and it comes with trial and error, but it's so necessary for this process to actually work. And I have something in my back pocket for those overwhelmed moments that feel like the end of the world that also really help this process to move forward. So it takes a little bit of training, but there's no doubt that you're gonna deal with a moment where you feel like the world is crashing in on you and that you don't know how you're gonna get everything done, okay? And so I have these little things that I do, and I keep them written down somewhere, so you can keep it written in your notes app, which is my preferred way, or you can keep it written on a post-it that you can see, where you can say like, oh, I'm feeling overwhelmed, this is how I respond to this. So the first thing is ask yourself 2 questions. 1, did you eat? Yeah. You can tell from experience that that's something that I have to deal with a lot. And 2, did you move? Stop right there and make sure your basic bodily needs are taken care of, because a lot of times we're feeling really overwhelmed in a moment, but we forget that we have to take care of ourselves, especially if you're type A and you're always going after something. You've got to stop and say, oh shit, let me take care of myself real quick, and then I will get started with these next things. So once you've eaten, once you've moved, take a step back from whatever you're doing, give yourself, set a timer, whatever you need to do, and then you're gonna come back to your work with a fresh perspective, okay? I like to take a walk. I use the Superhuman app to do one of their little pep talks, those meditations when I'm feeling overwhelmed. And after I'm sort of satiated and I come back to myself, remind myself that everything always works out, then here's what I do. I take a piece of paper or a note, or I even do it in Google Tasks sometimes, and write out everything I feel like I have to do right then that feels like it's so necessary that it has to get done. After that, I actually take a step back and I decide to prioritize them. So if there are 20 things on that list, I have to decide what's number 1, what's number 2, what's number 3, what's number 4. And that can be a little scary sometimes, but it actually really helps you to recognize, what can I save for when I'm feeling a little bit more energized? What can I save for when I'm feeling a little more supported? And then you're gonna take of that list and think about exactly how much time you think that that's gonna take you to do. Because sometimes you feel like there's so much that needs to be done, and then I'll be looking at a list and it's one of them is pay this bill, call this doctor, go grocery shopping. Each of those things, paying a bill and calling a doctor, those 2 things take less than 5 minutes each. And that can feel like it frees up so much space and makes you feel so much more spacious, because you can recognize that what you're stressing yourself out about is really not that much of a task. You're hyping it up to be just because there is such a large amount of tasks, okay? So I do that, and that usually solves everything right there. And so just knowing that you have that routine for how you're going to respond when things turn out to be scary or overwhelming, that is always going to be so much more helpful than just expecting yourself to look at this new task list or look at all the things you need to do and get them all done according to schedule, because it never really happens that way. That's why we have systems to help us when we are feeling a little overwhelmed. So that is how I do things. I'm someone who loves having this system. I also am someone who likes being impulsive with my days and spontaneous. So having something like this that I know I can always come back to is so good for my mental health. And if you try it, let me know. I've had tons of you all reach out to me and say that using Google Tasks has changed your life. So if it has, please comment down below. And if you liked this video, make sure to like it and to subscribe for more productivity, self-care, New York City vlogs. I'm sure you'll love it. If you are interested in learning how to take better care of yourself and being more of a self-care girl, definitely check out my brand 2 Collective. It is a line of luxury bathrobes that are super functional. They have adjustable sleeves as well as an attached belt. Really soft and durable material that gets softer with every single wash. So check it out down below if you are interested. And if you want more productivity tips from incredible business people, incredible creators, and just me, you can subscribe to my podcast, Too Smart for This, everywhere. It is a top self-care podcast and I think you all will love it. So with that all being said, thank you so much for watching. Again, comment down below if this works for you, if you try it, and don't forget that you are too smart to not love yourself.
Yeah. The 10,000 building, get your ass an apartment, put you